Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to another video. It's the long-awaited March, April, I never know what month it is. March wrap-up. I know you've been saying, Megan, where's your March wrap-up? You've had your April TBR out. Why didn't you give us the March wrap-up? Well, it's finally here. So get ready, buckle in, buckle down, strap in, whatever. Okay, I don't know. I'm in a mood, apparently. I had a whole cup of coffee and here we are. So this month I have read, how many books? 8 books, but that's a pretty good reading month for me, but 3 of them were novellas and some of the rest were pretty short too. So I didn't read it in as many pages. In fact, I read 2,098 pages, not counting any of the DNFs, which I plan on doing another video with my first quarter DNFs. So just to break it down, I read 2 fantasy, 1 magical realism, 1 horror, 1 romance, 1 sci-fi, 1 classic, and 1 nonfiction. It was a very well-rounded reading month for me, which I kind of enjoyed. So I read 6 adult and 2 young adult books. That's about average for me. The star ratings were not good though. This was the bad part. I had 1 4-star read. That was the best one. No 5 stars. 1 4-star, and it was the nonfiction, spoiler alert. The rest were not as good. 3 3.5-star reads, 2 3-star reads, 1 2.5-star read, and 1 2-star read. Why'd I even read it? Oh yeah, because it was a punishment for something and I had to. I read 1 physical book that was only like 100 pages, and I read 7 audiobooks, but I did spend a lot of time reading another book that I just finished at the beginning of April, but I'll put it on April's TBR or wrap up, but I did count. I mean, I did read a lot of pages of it, so at least there was that. I read 3 books that were in a series and 5 standalones. I'm really getting caught up on series, which is good. 4 of the books, 4 of the authors were new to me, and 4 of the authors were, not new to me. There were 5 female authors and 3 male authors, so all these are about average. But let's just go through them in order. So the first book I read was The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. And it's a fun sci-fi. Honestly, it did set out what it intended to do. There's a note in the back of the book from the author who says like, hey, I wrote this during the pandemic. It's supposed to be a fun sci-fi. You're not going to find like heavy themes here. If that's what you're looking for, this is not the right book. And he's right. It was just a fun little romp. I wound up giving it 3.5. It did what it set out to do. It was a fun little thing about preserving kaiju, like, Godzilla-like creatures that apparently exist. And the main character was funny. It was read by Will Wheaton. So if you are interested in the audiobook, I highly recommend, because he was so into it. Like, he would even kind of laugh in places, like he was enjoying reading it too. So I don't know, I really enjoyed the audio part of it. Then I read my nonfiction book that I actually gave 4 stars to, and that was Joy at Work by Marie Kondo and somebody else that I didn't write down, but it's basically the kind of one of the sequels, if you can call them sequels, to her, Japanese art of decluttering book, how to organize, whatever it's called. So this was, I loved her other book, and I thought, okay, I want to see how to organize all my stuff at work too, because I figured I could apply some of the same principles from her first book to my work life, but I thought, well, I'll read specifically the workbook, and it was really good. I gave it 4 stars. It gave me a lot of tips. I mean, it's like things I already knew. Like, it really is. It's stuff you already know. It's nothing revolutionary, but it's like, you just need to hear it is what it is. That you're like, oh, that is how I should organize, and oh, I am doing this right. So yeah, I'm going to actually implement those tips at the beginning of the summer when I have to work extended days in the library and there are no kids at school, so that I can actually get some stuff done. Next, I read 2 more books in the Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire. First was Beneath the Sugar Sky. That was called, yeah, Beneath the Sugar Sky. It was really short. It was a little novella. I gave it 3.5 stars. You would think I'd give it more when basically it's set in like a Candyland type setting, but like, I just didn't care about as much going on as I thought I would. Honestly, one of the main characters just is really annoying. She's like really just like peppy, but it was the way the audiobook narrator like read that character. She was really annoying. I'm not gonna lie, just like that character was. And she was like one of the main characters. So that's why I didn't give that one as high of a rating. And then the next one was In an Absent Dream, also of course by Shauna Maguire. Gave it 3.5 stars. On reflection, it might be more like 3 stars because I didn't like it as well as all the rest of them in the series. It followed the character Lundy, who was in the first book, and all you know from her in the first book is that she's aging backwards until I guess she eventually dies, like when she becomes like a baby again. And you don't know why she's aging backwards. And she went to a really strange world. I mean, yeah, even the world, most of the worlds are strange, like the Candyland world, but this world was like super weird. It was all just about fair value. And if I had to hear the phrase fair value again, I was going to go nuts. It was about trading and literally trying to get fair value for whatever it is that you do. And that's kind of their currency system in this other world. What's it called? The Goblin Market is the name of it, this world that she goes to. And I don't know, I just didn't find this world as interesting as some of the other ones. And I just want to get back to Jack and Jill because they're like my favorite characters. Then I did The Unthinkable, and I read another romance novel. I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. Why, you may ask? I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I at least didn't DNF it. It was like, it was just there. I DNF'd Book Lovers back in the day, and this was definitely better than Book Lovers. And I did like as everybody talks about, the banter. The banter between the main characters was really good. I actually read it for another video project that I was doing. And I talk a lot more about it in that video that'll hopefully be coming out eventually. But like, it was fine. I don't think romance is for me just because I don't care about anything going on in their lives. I'd rather have like a fantasy plot or some other plot and that the romance is in the background. So when the romance is at the forefront, it's not really my thing. I read maybe the weirdest book I've ever read in my entire life. I don't even know how to rate this book because at first I thought it was going to be like 4 or 5 stars. Then I hated it. Then I stopped reading it halfway through and read Beach Read instead because it's super long. It's like 19 hours. Then I picked it back up and decided like I'll finish it, and I didn't know what was going on. And it's Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. It's like magical realism. If I told you some of the things that happen in this book, you, 1, probably wouldn't even believe me. And 2, you'd be like, well, those things aren't connected together. Yes, there is a guy who goes by the name Johnny Walker, and that's not his real name though, but he think he's in a different body. And he cuts off cats' heads and sucks out their souls by eating their hearts and puts their souls into a magical flute. And then that's just a small part of it. There's like fish raining from the sky. There's a boy who has an Oedipus complex that's in love with his mother and maybe also his sister. There's a old singer who had a song called Kafka on the Shore. There's a guy who was in an accident as a child, but it was like a strange, possibly not maybe alien type. I don't think it's aliens, but you never even find out. There's no questions answered in this book, but something about how he was in this forest with children at his school, and the teacher realizes that all the children have passed out except for this. Well, and they all wake up except for this one little boy who doesn't wake up for a lot longer, and he later can talk to cats because of it. And there's a lot about cats. So that's just even the beginning. That's just part of it. I kid you not. There are some weird things in this book, and I thought it would all come together. I would have been fine with the weirdness if it all came together and meant something, but apparently this author is known for just leaving you hanging and making you figure it out. And I read some interpretations online that I still don't really understand. I don't know if I'm not smart enough for this book or this book is being too pretentious. I don't know. But I don't think I'd recommend this book just because it's weird for the sake of being weird in places. I feel like I don't even know what to say. It was 19 hours long. It was so long and it was so weird. Then I read my only physical book, which is super tiny, and it was the Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I think it's actually called The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde. I don't know why it just says Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde, but I'm pretty sure it's called The Strange Case because it was a punishment for my video where I pick up my fingers and about atomic habits. And this was the book I had to read because I chose to read a classic, and I thought, well, this is the shortest classic that I've never read. So besides the fact that my copy smells really good, this book sucked. I gave it 2 stars. It was so boring. It's mostly not about Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde. You don't get to the part it is, but you don't even get to their story until page 78 out of 100. This is boring nonsense, and then this is the only good part that I wish was longer. But there was one quote that I have to read you because honestly, it was the best part of the book, and it was the only reason that I thought the book might actually turn out to be good. I actually had like a little bit of hope. Here it is. It's the funniest joke in a classic I think I've ever read. So this guy that's sort of like one of the main characters is looking for Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde. He's really looking for Mr. Hyde, doesn't know they're the same person. And he says, he's like hanging out by this guy's office and trying to find him, even hangs out at night, and he can't find him. So it says the lawyer was to be found on his chosen post. If he be Mr. Hyde, he had thought, I shall be Mr. Seek. But Hyde spelled Hyde, of course. Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek. I can just imagine, this was written in the 1800s, I can imagine Robert Louis Stevenson sitting there like chuckling to himself about this good joke. Then I read my last book of the month, and oh my gosh, what another weird book. I don't know what it is with me and picking these weird books. I guess I thought after reading The Library at Mount Char that I would enjoy weird books, so I was like, I'll keep reading weird books. Well, I didn't like Kafka on the Shore, and I certainly did not like Bunny by Mona Awad. Oh my gosh, what was this book? It was like some sort of fever dream. The first like half was pretty good, and I've read a lot of reviews that said the same thing. And the second half was like, what is happening? Why? What is even going on? And yes, it's sort of about bunnies. I feel like everybody probably has heard of this book. If you've not, you should just Google it and read about it. I don't want to go through what it's all about because I'm just so tired of thinking about this book. It's sort of horror. It's supposed to also be sort of funny, because it's like this society of girls that's turning boys into bunnies, but it's also really violent. There's a lot of blood in this book for the fact that it's, you know, supposed to be kind of funny. And I mean, yeah, it's horror, but you're like bunnies and blood, and you got a lot of questions about what's really going on, what's reality. The last sentence is like, whoa, it makes you kind of question everything that happened in the book, like that it's all a dream sort of thing. Not that exactly, but you just don't even know what's real by the end of the book. It's weird. I did like the audiobook, would be the only thing that I liked about it. The narrator was really like good at calling each other, like having the girls to, you know, call each other bunny, and like just her little voice was really good. So but other than that, I gave it 2.5 stars. Wouldn't really recommend it. Apparently some people, like Kayla from Books and La La, it's one of her favorite books of all time, gave it 5 stars. I don't know how much I trust her recommendations anymore. So those are all the books I read in March. If you've read any of those, let me know if you kind of thought the same things, and I will talk to you guys again later. Bye.